Let's now move over to our Leslie Picker, who joins us fresh off our exclusive sit-down with JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Leslie.
Hey, Frank. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground with Jamie Dimon here in Charlotte. I asked him about President Trump's latest attacks on Fed Chair Powell.
I think Jay Powell is a professional. I think independence is important. I think actually independence keeps interest rates lower if you actually look through the history of interest rates a little bit. And just lowering short-term rates doesn't necessarily have the effect you want on 10-year rates. And we should be a little cautious. The president gets a chance to pick a new Fed chair in like 8 months from now. So I think they're kind of doing the right thing.
Dimon added that given the macro environment, he thinks that the Fed will cut rates soon.
The economy's, it's been chugging along. We've been in that soft landing now for 4 or 5 years. Inflation still hasn't hit 2%. It's 2.5 or 2.7 how we look at it. And I think, if inflation comes down, the economy continues to do well, they'll probably reduce rates shortly.
I also asked him about the news that he's had several meetings in recent months with President Trump after years of tensions between the two. Dimon said it's his job to make the country better and help, noting that both they and the administration, quote, reach out all the time. And on the cusp of the tariff deadline, Dimon said they've been, quote, greatly moderated and that people can deal with 15%.
We started tariffs, we didn't know what they're going to be, and now we kind of know, and they're more moderate and thoughtful and more carefully done, and hopefully they'll help some companies export. Maybe some people move manufacturing back here. So so far so good.
We also spoke about private credit, which he describes as having both pros and cons.
I'm not against private credit. I do think there are issues in it, that will rear themselves one day. I would say there are issues in credit in general that rear themselves one day. So it isn't, I'm just cautious about when people provide credit.
Dimon said the firm is doing private credit to give their customers choices. Frank?
Leslie Picker, live in Charlotte. Leslie, great interview. Thank you very much. I want to get the desk reaction. Josh, I'm going to start with you. What did you make of what he said specifically about private credit?
Look, this is a business that the mainstream, systemically important banks were pulled away from as a result of regulation a generation ago. The question now is whether or not that still makes sense. And in the meanwhile, the banks are not waiting. They're not watching this whole parade go by and not trying to do anything about it. So they're going to originate some of these loans. They'll sit in the middle of some of this stuff. Maybe they'll be on the servicing side. And now their wealth management clients are being pushed into a lot of private credit firms that are being run elsewhere. And so they're raking in fees as a result of that. They're finding a way to get involved in this market because it's a really big market and there's a lot of potential here. Do I worry about it? Yeah, I worry about everything. So this is just like one more thing on the list where people are maybe putting on a lot of leverage or taking more risk than they otherwise would because of how safe this asset class has now been deemed.
The bill. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm just thinking the question is, does it belong in places like a 401k, right? If we're talking about a market where potentially folks could get wiped out as that stuff makes its way from the super top tier, ultra high net worth investor who now needs liquidity, and so we're coming on down the food chain. It's making its way in the 401ks, which is most people's largest liquid asset. I have concerns there about the illiquidity where it started, making its way to average.
It's very saturated. But I mean, they're making money on it. They're making money on trading. I mean, the volatility has been big, but even with low volatility, these companies are making more money on trading. I think that's big. And then the M&A, mergers and acquisitions. I mean, Figma going public. These IPOs, this credit, this stuff is actually going to really be a tailwind, I think, in the second half of the year.